Peace and wellness, family. I hope that y'all are well and happy and whole and all that good stuff. Now, y'all know I don't usually go late. Go late. I was gonna say I usually don't go late this live. I usually don't go live this late. I usually don't go live this late. But I was out and about today running some errands, and then I asked the wellness community. I said, "Y'all think it's too late for me to go live? Y'all think it's a little too late?" And they are the ones who told me to go ahead and go live. Okay, so that's why I'm before y'all today. My intention for this live is to discuss the connection between the moon and the womb. I want to discuss the connection between having your menstrual cycle or starting your menstrual cycle during various moon phases, and also how you can utilize the moon phases and your menses for spiritual purposes, right? Like, what are some things you should be doing during that time, right? And what energy are you aligned with during that time? So we'll discuss all of that. And the reason that I am doing this live is because y'all, anytime I go on socials and I talk about a full moon or a new moon, one of the most common comments I get, common comments I get is, I just started my period. What does that mean? It's a full moon. My period started today. Should I be doing something? What should I do? Can I take a spiritual bath on my period? Is that okay? Can I do this? I get a lot of questions about that. So I said, you know what? I've spoken in the past. In the past, I've spoken about like getting your period and the power of your menstrual cycle. I've spoken about that stuff in the past, but I said, let me do a video specifically dedicated to that to answer that question. Because, baby, all the time. And shout out to the wellness community, because if it wasn't for them, y'all wouldn't be getting this tonight. But I felt like it was important tonight, right, for us to have this conversation, because we currently are in the midst of full moon energy, right? We had a full moon in Capricorn that peaked today at 4:36 p.m. Eastern time, and the shadow period for that full moon in Capricorn lasts until July 13th. So we are right now deeply in the midst of full moon in Capricorn energy. And I'm so excited. I hope that y'all are feeling it. How are y'all feeling with this full moon in Capricorn? How do y'all feel? Do y'all feel connected to the energy? Are you feeling the desire to release some of the thoughts and behaviors and self-doubt that may be blocking you? Is it being revealed to you? Is it coming up for you and showing you who you are? Are you feeling the full moon in Capricorn energy? Are you feeling the desire to enhance your discipline, to move forward? Are you getting the visions and the revelations about like what's to come? What are your next steps that you should be doing? Do you feel yourself opening up and tapping into different spiritual gifts, or having your spiritual gifts kind of show themselves a bit stronger? Because all of that is full moon and Capricorn energy. And I'm seeing a lot of yeses in the chat. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of yeses in the chat, so I'm so happy for y'all. But without it's late. It's late. Okay. Without further, it's late. It's 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. 10:04 to be exact. Okay. Y'all gonna get a whole lot of tonight. Okay. But without further ado, let's get into our intention at hand, which is this is to discuss the connection between the moon and the womb. We're gonna start there, right? So it's interesting, okay? And we just gonna sit on the couch and have a conversation. Because this is one of my favorite topics, right? I love talking about the beauty of being a womb man, right? Being a woman and having my womb and being feeling my deep connection to my womb. And I've always felt it since I was a very young child. Let me tell y'all, I'm the youngest in my family. I'm the youngest child. I was often the youngest cousin, often the youngest of the family, friends, kids. Like, I was always the youngest. So my older cousins, and my sister's 14 years older than me, so of course she had her menstrual before me, but my older cousins, who when we was coming up, the ones that was close to my age, they all got their cycle. And y'all, I was the little girl that prayed for my cycle. I prayed to start my menstrual cycle. I wanted it so bad. Like I used to pray every night, like, please let me start my period. Please let me start my period. Because the beautiful thing about it is, although some women in my family did have like very crampy, difficult cycles, they never talked bad about their cycle as though it was something that they hated or something that was evil. I remember one of my aunts, shout out to Auntie Shauna, she had a group, a girls group that she had started for young girls in the neighborhood called Sister Love. And she taught us about the cycle and like the beauty of the cycle. So for me, getting your cycle was always a beautiful thing, right? It was always like a something you look forward to. It in a way, it was our own rites of passage, right? It was like your rites of passage to your next step of like young womanhood, older girlhood. You was like at that point, you was one of the older girls, one of the big girls. Once you had your cycle, I remember my older cousin Shayna getting hers, and we was like, "What does it feel like? What is it like?" Literally, it's so funny because she was sitting in the chair, and we were all sitting on the floor at her feet. Like, so what does it feel like? And how did you know? And what color is it? So if you put your hand down there right now and pull it out, there's gonna be blood. Oh my God. Like we was all just so fascinated. So I'm sharing this story because I really think that energy being around me set the tone for me having a beautiful relationship with my womb, having a beautiful relationship with my cycle, and always embracing all of the signs and symptoms that came along with getting my cycle, always embracing my connection to my womb and paying close attention to it, always embracing the spiritual power and energy of my womb. It was just something that I always embraced and was always open to. And I understand that that is not the story for a lot of young girls. A lot of sisters have a very difficult relationship with their womb and have very difficult menstrual cycles, and it's not something that they look forward to. So the reason I'm sharing that story is because be that shift, right? Oftentimes we talk about breaking generational curses, and I feel like that's a generational curse that a lot of people look over, right? The generational curse of hating the womb, of dreading the womb, and all that comes with having a womb, right? I think that that's a generational curse that a lot of people need to break. And I think that one simple way to do that is to be honest and be open about some of the woes that come along with having a menstrual, like the cramp and the cramps for some people, the fatigue, all kind of things, right? All kind of symptoms people have, right? So be honest about that. But be honest about the beauty of it too. And for those of you who don't know the beauty of it, we're going to get into that, right? Because our womb is deeply connected to the moon energy, right? So the moon is usually a 29-day cycle, and so is our womb cycle. The traditional average womb cycle for most women is about 29 days. So our womb is deeply connected in a divine connection to the moon. And when we're talking about the moon, we're talking about divine feminine energy. And let me go ahead and set a tone right here. Let me set a tone right here. Okay. I love y'all dearly. I don't know if y'all have noticed. I'm a Black woman. And as a Black woman, I have to always remind y'all that our history and our connection to spirituality is a little different from white women. The meaning of certain things is a little different from white women. So when I'm talking about the divine femininity of the moon and divine feminine energy, I'm going to talk about Orisha energy as well because I have to. And this is where things get a little different, right? Because in wellness community, we've talked about the history and the why of this and all of that, right? We've talked about all of those things. But it's important to acknowledge that for a lot of white spiritual practitioners, they use the full moon to manifest and to do a lot of manifestation work. In African culture and African spirituality, for African American, especially spiritual practices, the full moon is a time to release. It is a time to rest. It is a time to relax, right? The full moon is connected to the divine feminine energy, or Orisha Yemoja. And Yemoja is all about the mothering, the nurturing energy. She is the divine light Orisha, the divine guide Orisha, right? And then we're talking about the new moon, we're talking about the Orisha Oya, who is over the dark moon, right? So she's all about transitions and changes and transformations. And that's why we use the new moon to set intentions and manifest, right? So when I'm talking about the divine feminine energy of the moon, we're talking about two of our most powerful and most well-known divine feminine energy, orishas, right? That's connected to the moon. So when we're talking about our womb and as a reflection of the moon, and we're talking about these cycles and these phases, we are also talking about the energy that these orishas carry. And you don't have to believe in orishas. Again, we're talking about specifically energy here, right? So when we're talking about the moon starting new and then waxing and then full and then waning and then beginning again, and knowing that your womb does the same thing, right? Our womb has us open and prepared, and then we move into our phase of ovulation, right? And then we move into our phase of embracing the possibility, right? The ovulation is embracing the possibility of carrying life. And then we release and then we start all over again, right? So when we move through these different phases with the womb, we are literally in full alignment with the moon. We also start new, we wax, we become full, and we wane and we begin again, right? So it is a divine reflection, right? So think about that the spiritual power in that, the spiritual connection that we have with that divine feminine moon energy, you know? And I need us to also understand this. This is the caveat. You do not have to have a womb to be spiritually powerful. But when you have a womb, you do have spiritual advantages, right? You have spiritual advantages because your menstrual cycle, your menses, can be used to be a catalyst and to elevate the intention of certain workings. So we'll talk about what should you be doing during with your menses during specific moon phases, right? Now let me explain this, right? So we understand that our womb is a divine reflection of the moon. We understand that the moon is all about that divine feminine energy, having two powerful orishas over the new moon, Oya, and the full moon, Yemoja, right? Having our womb be a reflection of the divine feminine and a manifestation of the divine feminine. Let's get into the sacral energy, right? The sacral chakra, the sacral energy point is located in the womb area, right? And that is all about divine feminine energy. That is all about creativity. That is all about nurturing, right? That is also one of the places where we feel our intuition, one of the places where our third eye reflects, right? So for a lot of women, you know how they say women have that sixth sense. Women have that sixth sense. Every being has a third eye, but that sixth sense, that fourth eye that women carry is in the womb space, is in that sacral chakra space. Your intuition, your third eye is reflected in that womb area. So again, it is a bit of a spiritual advantage, a bit of like a spiritual superpower to have that deep, deep, deep connection with the womb, right? Being able to see things with that womanly instinct, you know, having that right? So this is the thing that we all have to understand. I know a lot of sisters have had experiences. I had quite a few women in my family have to have hysterectomies. Both my aunts had a hysterectomy. My mother had a hysterectomy because they dealt with fibroids. They dealt with womb illnesses, right? Things that led them to getting a hysterectomy. And I will say, when you have a hysterectomy, it's not that your spiritual power decreases, right? You don't lose spiritual power. Again, I need us to understand that you can still be powerful without having a womb. There's just advantages to being spiritually connected to the womb, right? So you don't lose your spiritual power. You don't lose your spiritual gift, because I know some people may hear this. Some people who do not have a womb any longer. They don't have the uterus, the actual physical uterus any longer. And some people may be like, oh my God, did I remove my spiritual power? Did I remove my spiritual gift? No, no. But having that deep womb connection is an advantage, right? It elevates the energy. It is a catalyst for the energy. Now, at things I'm telling y'all, and one of the ways to break the generational curses is to pass this information forward to young sisters, pass this information forward to young girls, right? Because it's important that a young girl before she even gets her cycle, she understands that she carries Ashe in her belly by just being a womb holder. She carries a special power in her belly. It's important for her to understand that no matter what happens, she has a beautiful sacred space that is powerful. She has that beautiful fourth eye in her belly, and she can always trust that space, right? And should always protect it and cover it because it is something that is powerful and worthy to be coveted, right? And then that conversation can lead into other conversations because that's when you get into the conversations about the power and the spiritual connection of sex, right? And having a worthy partner into your sacred space, right? So, we as spiritual beings, we have to elevate out of the fear mongering conversations, and you don't want to get pregnant and you don't want STDs. Let's teach young sisters the power, the beauty of protecting their body and coveting their body from a spiritual space, right? That is a dimension. You carry a dimension within your body, protected. You carry spiritual power within this space, protected. This is a space where a part of your ashe rests, a part of your power rests, protected, right? So that is why you should mind who you allow to enter that space. That is how I like to teach young sisters, and I pass that forward to you, right? Now, when it comes to the cycle, teach them the phases of the womb, just like you'll teach them the phases of the moon. Teach them about that lining coming in preparation. Teach them about the shedding and the release of that lining. It's something that we have to shift. That's very important. It absolutely is a portal. It absolutely is a portal. Something that we have to teach them that's important. We have to shift the conversation about calling menstrual blood waste, calling it waste, right? That is not healthy. That is not a healthy mindset to have, that this is waste. This is something disgusting. This is something unworthy. And let me explain. And this is when we're going to get into the spiritual connection. If you study indigenous culture, you study ancient Greek culture, right? Bring it into European perspective. You study early African culture, different ethnic groups, different tribes in Africa, African traditional religions. All of them teach that when a woman is on her menstrual cycle, her ashe, her power is elevated. Her power is elevated. And oftentimes she is seen as a dangerously powerful woman. And this is one of the reasons why in a lot of European cultures, they taught them that it was filthy, it was disgusting, the same way they taught them that being a witch is evil, right? When Christianity came in, the perspective and the mindset around having your menstrual cycle shift. The same way the perspective and the mindset about having certain spiritual gifts and spiritual abilities shifted, right? What's the connection there? When Christianity came in, they wanted everyone to only worship Jesus, to only believe that the way that you can be elevated and get what you desire is you pray to Jesus, and that everything else was evil. Before that time, being spiritual and using your spiritual gifts and tapping into your herb work, tapping into your root work was very, very normal before then. Tapping into that womb power and using your elevated ashe, your elevated power was very normal. But if we want you, when Christianity comes in, if we want you to believe that having power is evil, we're going to teach you that your cycle is evil and disgusting. We're going to teach you that the moment, your period, your menstrual cycle moment, the moment where you are the most powerful is one of the worst moments ever, and that it's nothing but waste, and you should quickly get rid of it, and you should quickly throw it away because it's disgusting. Matter of fact, think about this. We don't even want to be around you. We don't even want to be around you. There are many European traditions, cultures, practices that will tell women who are on their cycle, you can't drink from the cups, you can't eat from the plates, you cannot enter the kitchen. There's many things you cannot do because you are disgusting, right? But what was the root of that? The root of that is they knew the power, they knew the elevated power, and the Christian mindset taught them that that power is evil. So we're afraid that if we drink from the same cup as you, we eat from the same plate as you, we allow you to be around the food, that power will infect our sweet Christian saved and sanctified items and dishes. So that is the root of this idea that your blood is waste. That is the roots of this idea that the menstrual cycle is evil, that the womb is unworthy. That is the root of that. Before then, we knew the power of the womb. Before Christianity came in and really colonized many, many countries, we knew the power that we held and was elevated, especially when we were on our cycle. So, something we have to be mindful of is being intentional. We need to be intentional about removing the term waste when we're talking about our period. Okay, we have to be very intentional about that. It is not waste, it is not unworthy. And within a lot of African traditional religions, including Isheshe, we've talked about this before, it is believed that you should not go to your altar when you are on your cycle because your ashe is so strong. Your ashe is so powerful. And some practitioners believe that your ashe is so powerful that it could be a threat to the Orishas, right? So some people said that's an old traditional Isheshe practice and belief, and many people still practice that and believe that, right? But it's not coming from a space of this is evil and this is disgusting. It's coming from a space that you are so powerful and so strong that it may threaten the energy of the Orishas, the energy that is at the altar that you are going to. So you should do your sacred work separate away from your altar. Now, I don't personally subscribe to that. I don't personally subscribe to that. In wellness community, y'all know that. Y'all know that. Y'all know I don't personally subscribe to that, right? Because I believe and just me and my own logic and my own feelings is that if we are the most powerful during this time and we have the ability to utilize this energy to manifest and to release and to create and to infuse things with this power and with this energy, this is when we really need to be doing our work, right? So that is the goal. The goal is to get everybody to a space where they are doing their work. And before I move forward to like what work you can be doing when you start your cycle at different phases, I want to say this. The best thing you can do for young sisters, number one, teach them the connection between the womb and the moon. Number two, teach them the power and the ashe of having that fourth eye resting in that sacral space, that womb space. Number three, teach them the power of blood. What is blood? What is blood made up of? Why is blood powerful and important? To explain to them, even young sisters, explain to them the importance of blood magic, right? And you can teach that separate from having the period, but they should automatically know the power of the blood, the power of the DNA, the power of the iron connected to Ogun, the warrior Orisha, right? Ogun is over the blood, right? So they should learn about Oya. They should learn about Yemoja, Oya connected to that new moon, Yemoja connected to that full moon. They should learn about the sacral chakra. Yemoja is also over the sacral chakra. And they should learn about Ogun, who is the keeper of the blood. As a womb warrior, you literally have three Orishas coveting your womb space all at one time, protecting your womb space all at one time. So it's a beautiful thing to teach young sisters the power that they hold in that womb, right? And teach them how to care for it. Now, what are some ways that you can care for it? I see someone here just mentioned PCOS. Let me tell y'all something. Some ways that you can care for it. Quickly, quickly, quickly. Herbs, right? These are herbs that I started when I was fairly young, like early, I want to say early 20s, maybe like 21, 22. Some herbs I started taking consistently. Nettle, Dong Quai. It's a herb called Dong Quai, Dong space Quai, Dong Quai. So nettle, Dong Quai, calendula is also really good. Black cohosh is also really good. If you have PCOS, if you deal with fibroids, if you deal with any issues with the womb area, take those herbs consistently. Okay, consistently. When I say consistent, I'm talking about it should start with once a day. Okay, if once a day is too much, at least three or four times a week. Consistently make that tea. Okay, consistently, please. Thank you for writing it down. Thank you for writing it down. Please consistently make that tea and drink it on a regular basis. And then there are people, yarrow is also good. Yarrow is good. Burdock root is good. Burdock is good for the blood as a whole. Okay, hold on. Let me go here. Burdock is good for the blood as a whole. Raspberry leaf tea, red raspberry leaf tea is good for people who have cramps. If you're dealing with cramps, raspberry leaf is good as well. But it's important for y'all to take these herbs. Like I said, if it's too much for you to make, I'm gonna recommend a website called Sabi's Daughter. It's Dr. Sabi's Daughter. Shout out to Kelly Bowman. She's Dr. Sabi's blood daughter, Kelly Bowman. Sabisdaughter.com. She has a feminine balance blend, and most of the herbs that I named are in that feminine balance blend. Okay, so Sabi's Daughter, Sebis daughter, sabisdaughter.com. Kelly Bowman, you could look her up as well on like socials and things like that. But she has a female balance, and for the brothers, she also has a male balance as well with different herbs that are good for the brothers as well. Okay, so yes, thank you, Queen L. But yeah, so that I wanted to recommend that, and I say that because I know that PCOS can be very, very difficult, and PCOS can lead to a lot of different things like irregular menstrual cycles, cramping, heavy clotting. Those herbs will help regulate your menstrual cycle. They will help to decrease the amount of clotting. It'll just make your flow much, much easier. Another thing that's going to be important to do. Okay, and this is really spirit moving because this is not in my notes. I didn't plan on talking about any of this, but it's full alignment. Something that's important to do is womb massages. Get some castor oil. Okay, get some castor oil and practice womb massages. And you want to start with the ovaries and move in and go down and then circulate back up. Okay, so you're starting with the ovaries, moving in, go down, and then circulate back up. Okay. So this is your womb massage move. Okay. This is the motion. And you want to do that for at least 5 to 10 minutes a day. If you deal with fibroids, this helps breaks up the fibroids. Okay. This will help break up the fibroids. And then if you want to, if you deal with like constipation, you deal with heavy cramping, start with the ovaries, bring it down, come back up, and bring it around the belly button, and then go back to the ovaries. Down, up, around the belly button, and then go back to the ovaries. Okay. And that'll help ease the constipation, move you into your flow and things like that. Yes, yes. Thank you, Lena. It's very important to speak. You can speak affirmations into your womb as you are doing this. Okay. Speak light into your womb as you are doing this. But that again, that motion, those womb massages helps break up fibroids. It helps to break up clots. It helps eases menstrual cramps and things like that. Very, very important. Okay. But and again, this all goes with building a beautiful, healthy relationship with our womb. I also want you to shift the way you think about your womb. Think about everything I said earlier. Think about the sister who referred to it as a portal, right? See this as a space of power. See this as a space of beauty. See this as a space of elevated ashe. The same way you take care of your third eye, take care of your fourth eye. See this as a blessing. And again, I know it can be difficult if you deal with PCOS. I saw someone else mention endometriosis. It can be fibroids, different things. I know it can be difficult, but when you shift your perspective of your womb, it helps you elevate your care and your nurturing for your womb space. And if none of that helps, care for it as you would care for the Orishas. Right? Care for your womb the same way you would care for your Moja, the same way you would care for Oya. If Oya came in your home right now, you would offer her something to drink, right? So, what nourishment would you offer your womb? If your Moja came in your home right now, you would offer her something to eat, right? So, what nourishment are you offering for your womb, right? So, care for it as a sacred space, as a portal, as an altar, because it is that. It is that, okay? And again, I can't say this enough. I'm going to continue to urge this. We have to teach this to the young sisters before they even get their cycle. Because when they get, like I said, I was the little girl praying for my cycle to come. And let me just tell y'all, I was praying for my cycle to come. I should have paused the prayer because my parents were separated when I got my cycle. I was at my father's house, okay? And it was me, my father, and my older brother. So I should have put a pause on the prayer. But literally, even that night before I did my usual, please let me get my cycle prayer. I will take care of myself. I'll take care of it. I won't complain. I'll appreciate it. And literally woke up the next morning like, I think it's time. I think it has come. But I was so ashamed to like tell my father, tell my brother, because it was also like a sacred girl thing. But that's a perspective to shift as well, right? Because it was a sacred girl thing. It was a thing that like the girl cousins talked about, the aunts and the mother talked about, like it was a sacred girl thing, right? I was ashamed to tell my father, my brother, so I was putting socks down there. And literally, when I went to my cousin house, because my cousin lived not too far, I went to my cousin house and told her, and she was like, "Oh my God!" Then I called my mother and told my mother. And my mother was like, "Okay, we're gonna get you the things." And then everybody got me the things. My aunt gave me some pads. My cousin gave me some pads, and everybody was so excited. And then when I got to my mother's house, we went to my other aunt's house, and literally, my aunt came running down the street, and she was like, "Oh my God!" Like it was a big celebration. So again, shift the perspective, right? Shift the perspective, shift how you treat this, shift how you embrace this, right? So a new, not a new, is newer to me, right? Something I've heard that people talking about is having period parties for their daughters, right? Like having a period party. I love that idea, right? Shout out to Dominique Christina. She's a poet. She has a whole poem about this where she talks about like when her daughter got her cycle, they had a period party and her all her friends dressed in red and they all like honored her and celebrated her for having this big moment. You know, oftentimes, especially my African American brothers and sisters, they will talk about like rites of passage. How do we have a rites of passage? Baby, for young sisters, this is our rites of passage moment. This is our rites of passage time. You could literally turn this into a rites of passage ceremony for young sisters in your family, right? Because they have moved to another level of ashe, another level of spiritual power. Now, with that being stated, let's talk about how we can use our menstrual cycle during various phases of the moon to elevate our spiritual power and use it to elevate our manifestations and our desires. Okay. Now, I already explained how Ogun is over the blood, right? So, when we're talking about the blood, the menstrual blood as a whole, we're talking about natural warrior energy, right? Ogun is over iron. We have iron in our blood. Ogun, the Orisha, is over the blood. Ogun is the warrior Orisha, right? One of the masterful warrior Orishas. He's known for winning battles and winning wars, right? He's one of the reasons why when you do protection work, you will put a machete over your altar for protection. He's one of the Orishas that you call on when you want to do a return to sender. He's the Orisha who is at the front lines of the battle, the big general. Okay, that is Ogun energy. So anytime you have your cycle, you have natural elevated warrior energy, right? That is moving through you. Okay, so it's important to understand that. Now, I gave the caveat earlier that the way European practitioners practice is a little different than the way melanated practitioners practice. Okay, I gave that caveat a little earlier, and I'm going to point out some differences here. Hold on, let me get a little water. Maybe let me tell y'all something. In my mind, I said this is gonna be a quick little 20-minute live. Why do I even be telling myself stuff like this? In my mind, I'd be like, it'll be a little 20, little 15, 20 minutes. I only got 4 bullet points. I only got 4 little bullet points. A little 15, 20 minutes. That's my aunt used to say 20. My aunt was like, my aunt grew up in Penn Projects. My whole family on my mother's side grew up in Penn Projects in Brooklyn, Wortman Avenue, East New York, Brooklyn. But my aunt she's the eldest aunt who got bougie. She started working at Columbia Records back in the day. So she knew Diana Ross, Michael Jackson, all of them. You know, she was that girl. She was the nail tech for SWV. She was that girl. She had elevated and moved out the hood. So she started speaking real proper. She started talking real proper. She used to say 20. 20. Okay, that's a girl, girl, girl. Go get them Franks and beans, girl. Girl, go get them sugar grits, girl. 20. Little $20. I was only gonna be on here for 20 minutes. Okay. That's it. Just real quick. Huh? And then when she came up, she moved right down the street, literally 2 blocks up from the projects to the little private houses, 2 blocks up, and lived there my whole life. Okay. Literally. And that's when she was big 20. Okay. Shout out to all the hood girls that make it and get real bougie and start talking with your teeth together like this. Okay. You can't open your mouth too much because that's ghetto. 20. Huh? Some water, something to drink, a little crab chicken, mac and cheese. Okay, a little fondue, you know. But all right, y'all, let's get into it. Okay, so moon cycles, starting your menstrual cycle on various moon cycles. Like I said, the way we do it is a little different. And one of the reasons is because of the connection of the spiritual energy, right? So when we're talking about the new moon is referred to as the dark moon. The Orisha Oya is over the dark moon, right? The new moon energy. One of the reasons why we set intentions and we manifest, because when you are manifesting, whether you are manifesting a move, you're manifesting a new job, you're manifesting calm, regardless of what you're manifesting a change or transition in your life, right? And Oya is over change, transitions, transformations. So she is one of the Orishas that really helps with that manifestation energy, right? And I have a whole video because this is the year of 9 that we are in right now. 9 is Oya's number. So I have a whole video reading for the year where I break that down, the year of 9 and Oya energy. If you are in the wellness community, we have notes on that and we talk about like offerings for Oya and things like that. Thank you for the love offering, Marlena. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. But so I have notes and videos on that. So I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I want to make the connection here between the new moon, the dark moon, Oya being over change, transformation, energy, right? And also something that's important to understand is that when we are in our new moon energy, we have the ability to set intentions and manifest. When you get your cycle during that time, your dark feminine energy is elevated. Oya is also over the dark feminine. Okay, she's over the dark feminine. So, what type of energy are you usually in when you are starting your cycle during the new moon? This is usually the time where you have the desire to cloak, you have the desire to move mysteriously, right? You have the desire to kind of covet your sacred spaces and covet your energy a little bit more. Even when you are socializing in social spaces and things, you kind of just have the desire to be to yourself. That's that dark feminine energy. It's not a negative thing. And that's another thing that we have to disassociate. People hear dark and think negative, but dark means mysterious. Dark is leads to curiosity. So you also may have increased curiosity that time. You're wondering what new practice you can try, what new thing you can get into. That is the dark moon energy. So when you have your cycle during that time, you usually have an elevation in that energy. You also have an increase of the ability to be able to manifest and manifest very, very, very quickly. So, what should you be doing during that time? Number one, you should be creating. And when I say creating, I'm talking about creating any type of art, any type of painting, any type of drawing, anything, right? A sculpture, something. You should be releasing some of this ashe and some of this power into some art. The art that I would heavily advise is a vision board, right? And you want to add just a little bit of your Menses, a little bit of that ashe energy that your Menses carries into that art. What does this look like? If you have a painting, mix a little bit into the paint. Now you ain't got to paint the whole thing, okay? Unless you feel like that. But you ain't got to paint the whole thing, but you could just put a couple of drops. And how do you get a couple of drops? I know people are going to ask that. Well, how do I get a couple of drops? Am I just supposed to scoop it out? Menstrual cups, baby. Menstrual cup, menstrual cup, menstrual cup, menstrual cup, menstrual cup. Okay, I cannot recommend that enough. I have a whole video on menstrual cups with my tips on how to put it in. I started using it years ago and I recorded a whole video, about how to help you put it in, the purpose and how good it is. Do that. If you're not a menstrual cup person, free bleeding, and you can collect a little bit when you free bleed. Okay, but you just want to add a couple of drops to the paint. You're doing a vision board, literally, it's something I do, the fingerprint, right? A little bit of my Menses, do my fingerprint. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then I will paint over it, right? Paint over it. It's not something that has to be obvious. You almost are using your Menses like paint, like art. You could even do a sigil. Okay. And again, you can paint over it, but you're putting your ashe, you're putting your power into your creation. And whatever the intention for that creation is, will be elevated, right? That is the beauty of this. It is a master manifestation time. Add your Menses. It's another thing you could do. Add your Menses to any manifestation working that you are doing. It will come fast. It will come quickly. One of the things I love to do now, y'all know I love me a good little candle working. Come on now. Y'all know me, I love me a good little candle working, baby. Let me tell you one thing I like to do. Okay? One thing I like to do. Write down what I want. Stack my money. I like to put my money, my different herbs and things like that. I get my fingerprint and I put it at the bottom of that candle, up under that candle. Or I'll put it at the top center with my Menses now. Bottom, top center, and light that candle. Okay. I've also in the past put that fingerprint or done a sigil with my Menses on the money. Now, that money you ain't giving to nobody. That money you hold on to, that's going to be your manifestation money. Okay. So you're not passing this along. Okay. Because something that we can never forget and something that we must always remember, never forget, always remember, is your Menses holds a lot of ashe. It holds a lot of power. You do not want to use your Menses in anything that you can give, that you're giving to someone else. Okay? I would hope that's common sense, but I know some things I have to make plain for the people in the back. You do not use your Menses in anything that you're giving to someone else because you're sharing your ashe with them. Your portal is open to them. So they could do whatever they want to you. You got to protect yourself and be mindful. Don't be foolish. Don't be sloppy. Okay. Be serious. Be serious about it. This is for you. This is for your stuff. This is your working. Okay. So put a little print top, bottom of that candle, light that candle. Do a sigil with it on the money. I'm not saying you have to do all of this, but you do what your spirit leads. But all of this will elevate the power of your manifestation and speed it up very, very quickly. Okay. Now, another thing you want to do, another thing you want to do is this is a good time if you have the tools, if you have the ability and the desire. If you start your cycle on the new moon, this is a time where you want to go in some type of nature, some type of woods, some type of sacred space, right? And you want to put your hands to the ground and practice grounding. Okay. And when I say put your hands to the ground, have a little bit of your menses on your hand and put it to the ground and root yourself. You want to root yourself. This is a good time to lay the hands. Okay. You want to move somewhere, you need to go to those grounds and root yourself there. You want to travel, you need to go outside, far away from your home, and root yourself in a traveling path. Go to the railroad tracks, go to close to the airport, okay? Somewhere where some grass around the airport or something, and root yourself there. Somewhere that's connected with travel for you. You root yourself there. Okay, that's what you want to do. All right. So remember, new moon, elevation of dark feminine energy, deep connection to Oya energy, high ability to manifest very, 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 very quickly. And what you want to do is add your menses to any and every manifestation work you are doing, you want to create. Of course, you are naturally going to have elevated intuition during this time. So those are some things you want to do. Now, the waxing moon, right? So first off, let me go back. The Europeans often call the new moon, when you get your cycle, they call it a white moon cycle, right? And again, that's a little bit different than how us melanated folks call it, because the new moon is the dark moon, right? But I do understand, and if that's what you prefer, I have to share that information with you, because if that's what you prefer, some people identify with that label of the white moon, and you do what feels right for you. I'm not here to yuck nobody yum. I'm not here to shame nobody. If that's what feels right for you, then you are a white moon cycle girly. Okay. But just keep in mind that this is a dark feminine energy, the dark moon, deeply connected to that, right? Now, the waxing moon, right? When we have the waxing moon, this is a good time to, if you start your cycle during the waxing moon, this is a good time to explore, to get outside, to try something different, study a new philosophy, because your portal is open to receive new information and to be encoded. Okay. So, this is a good time to do that. So, if you want to grow in some way, you want to elevate in some way, you want to encode. And when I say encode, I'm talking about you're trying to infuse a new energy within you, within your mind. You want to start exploring, go on an exploration journey. And that is what you want to do when you start your cycle during a waxing moon. You may have the desire to explore, have the desire to get out of the house. You want to be outside. You want to be in community. This is also a good time to dance. Get into dancing, get into movement, get into yoga, something that's going to move the body and help release some of that exploration energy. Okay. Thank y'all for taking notes in the chat. I appreciate that. Okay. If you're late to the live, check the chat for the notes, because they are doing an excellent job. Thank you, Queen L, and everybody else who's taking notes. I appreciate that. Thank you, Sydney. Y'all are doing excellent, excellent, excellent. But you want to take this time and use this time to explore, right? So that is a good time to do that. Move the body. You feel the jitters. You feel the curiosity. And when I say this, because I know I can hear some sisters saying, not me. When I get my period, I be woe out. I be tired. I be da-da-da. Let's be clear here. When I'm talking about these things, right, I'm not talking about it from a physical perspective. We're talking spiritual here. right? I gave y'all some herbs and stuff earlier to deal with some of the physical things, like to decrease the cramping and to, for things like that, right? To help move the energy throughout your womb. I gave y'all some herbs and stuff like that earlier. What I also want to offer you, if you feel physical fatigue, right? Because when I'm speaking about the desire to explore and get up and go, I'm talking about from a spirit. Your spirit is curious, your spirit is ready to explore, your spirit wants you to move, but sometimes you may feel physical fatigue. You need to get into your mint teas, get into chicory. Chicory, for anybody who is a coffee drinker or you're not a coffee drinker, but you want the energy boost of coffee, chicory. It's a herb called chicory, okay? And also stop shaming coffee. Coffee, this is another thing, okay? Coffee is very ancestral. Very ancestral and also has a lot of spiritual power and spiritual uses. Coffee is also plant based, okay? So small amounts of coffee. This is why when you go to a lot of like Latino countries, they have the little espresso shots. If you go to Cuba, they don't drink big, large cups of coffee. They drink a little espresso shot, right? So coffee is okay in small amounts. You don't want to sit there and go crazy. But if you're not a coffee person, chicory is good. Your citruses, your lemons, get you some lemon essential oil or orange essential oil. And I like to put just a little dot under my nose, and that elevates the energy, that picks up the energy. The same thing. Now, the mint oil under the nose burns a little bit. I ain't gonna flex. Okay, you sit it there a little too long to burn a little bit. You got to dilute that mint a little bit up under that nose, huh? But a good little orange oil, good little lemon oil up under the nose is perfectly fine. And it helps to open up that third eye, open up that crown, and just really elevate your energy. So if you're dealing with physical fatigue, try some of those things so that you can tap into that spiritual ashe and do what you need to do to align with that spiritual power, because that is what a waxing moon cycle looks like. It looks like exploration. It looks like body movement. It looks like get up and go. Now, what are some spiritual things you should be doing during that time? Like I said, that is the time to manifest the travel. That is the time to go connect with nature and to go lay hands on something, right? That is one of the times that you can do that. Dance, explore, open yourself up to new ideas, right? Open yourself up to studying new philosophies. That is a good time for that, okay? Now, the full moon cycle, we had 51 minutes, okay? I ain't like to be at it, no. But we almost through. The full moon cycle, one of my favorites. We are in a full moon right now. And the reason why this is one of my favorites, because baby, let me tell y'all something. One thing about a full moon cycle, when we're talking about full moon energy, we're talking about the energy of the lunatic, right? The term lunatic actually comes from that. The full moon naturally elevates our emotions. Why? Because the moon elevates the tides, right? The moon pulls at the tides of the water, and we are more than 70% water. So we are naturally being emotionally pulled at, emotionally elevated. If you talk to nurses and doctors, they'll tell you that the emergency rooms go crazy during full moon season because people are acting and moving out of an emotion-based space. Police officers say, during full moons, we get a lot of calls because people are moving out of an emotion-based space because emotions for everybody is elevated. But baby, getting your cycle during a full moon time is one of the most powerful times to play. And this is when we're going to get into another side. Now, I got to give the caveat right here. Y'all know I don't recommend that left hand work. I don't recommend it. For those of you who are new to this, traditionally, the left hand work is your protecting work, your hexing work, your things like that. Your right hand is your receiving, your manifestation. Your left hand is dispelling. Okay. So always remember that. And this connects back to the continent, right? A lot of African cultures, you receive with the right hand, you dispel, you get rid of with the left hand. If you go to Ghana today, you try to hand somebody some money with your left hand and watch how they look at you. It's seen as disrespect. Is seen as this to hand somebody, go to Kumasi, to Ashanti region, home of the Adinkra symbols. Go today and try to hand somebody some money with your left hand. They're going to look at you like you're crazy. It's disrespect. Okay. So our left hand traditionally, that's why we call it left hand work. That is what we use to dispel, to get rid of. Like I said, if you go to the continent today, when they are sweeping, they're so serious about it that they put the right hand, their receiving hand, their blessing hand behind their back, and the left hand is used to sweep. So if you look at videos or photos of someone from the continent cleaning, you'll often see them with the hand broom sweeping with the left, with the right behind their back. Okay. And then out of respect, if it's an elder and you're presenting an elder with like some water or some food or even a gift or something, you'll often see the right hand holding them, giving the right hand, and the left hand behind the back, and them bowing in grace in giving. Okay. So again, this is traditional, this is continental. So back to what I was saying. I don't recommend the left hand, because the left hand, you got to know what you're doing. But the full moon, is a good time to do that left hand work. And let me explain the connection here, right? Now, I know some of y'all may be thinking, but wait a minute, Queen. If Oya is over the dark moon and Oya is about transitions and changes and things like that, Oya don't play. So shouldn't we be using that for the left hand work? Hold on now. Hold on now. Because see, that's one of the problems. People hear Oya and they automatically think left hand. Oya does transitions, changes, transformations. Okay, yes. And Oya also herself don't play. Yes. But the mother, Yemoja, over that full moon, the mother doesn't play about her children. Study Yemoja. Study the divine mother. Study the mother of the Orisha, the mother who does not play about the children, the protective mother. People think about nurturing energy. They think that nurturing means only to take care of and to feed and to give libation. Nurturing also means to protect. Okay. Yemoja is the one who will flood the earth with her waters. Okay. To protect her children, will flood the earth with her waters to show why you don't disrespect. Hmm. Hmm. That's Yemoja energy. Okay. So we're talking about the full moon. Huh? The full moon offers us the opportunity to release anything that doesn't align with our wellness, to dispel anything that doesn't align with our wellness. Okay. So when you start your cycle during the full moon, you often feel elevated, nurturing energy, but usually it's very introspective. The desire to nurture and care for self, the desire to protect self. So, this is a time where you want to do your workings for protection for self, and you can add your menses to those protection workings. This is the time where you want to put a little of your menses on that machete. Okay. For protection. This is the time where you want to put, if you need to, do some burial work and add your menses to that burial, okay, to release and to remove. This is the time where you want to do your return to sender and add your menses to that return to sender to elevate and be a catalyst and speed up the power that it gets returned to sender. This is the time where you want to do your protection workings. That's when you want to do your protection workings. That's when you want to do your return to senders. That's when you want to do your work to nurture thyself, to mother thyself, okay? To take care of yourself and your environments and flood the earth with your waters. Remove anything and anyone that is not aligned with your wellness. And you can add your menses to your release workings, your return to sender workings, your protection workings to get that done. Okay? That's what you do during your full moon. That is how you use your menses to elevate your full moon workings. Okay? And I already told you earlier how to collect it. I told you about the fingerprint. I told you about the sigils. Okay. But this is also a time where you want to go to the water. Okay. A sister asked, how do you feel about taking a spiritual bath when you are on your menses? I said, baby, you better. You better. You better, and I know some people may see that as a bit gross, but again, it depends on a relationship that you have with your cycle. I don't see my own blood as gross. I see my blood as a deep connection with the Orisha over that moon cycle and Ogun. My blood is a reflection of warrior energy. My blood is a reflection of my divine power and spiritual elevation. Why would I not want to add it to my water and bring it into the divine flow and connect it to the divine flow? Why would I not? Right? So this is what you have to remember. So, what are you taking a spiritual bath for during this time? You're taking a spiritual bath for that time for protection, for releasing anything that is not aligned with your wellness, for dispelling any and all negative energy that may be dwelling within you and around you. Okay, so that is what you want to do during that time. Okay, so keep in mind your full moon is your natural, elevated, nurturing energy. Okay, this is also what I like to call the healer's time. This is when you want to make, because we talk about, keep in mind, we're talking about dispelling, we're talking about releasing. This is when you want to make your healing tinctures. This is when you want to make your healing potions. This is when you want to make your healing herb blends to dispel sickness from the body. Okay. So I need all the healers to gather around when I say this. As a healer, you have to know how are you healing and when to heal what. Are you trying to rid something from the body? Are you trying to dispel something from the body? Or are you trying to heal by manifesting something in the body? If you're healing by manifesting something in the body, that is your new moon healing work. If you're trying to heal by dispelling something from the body, by getting rid of a germ, a bacteria, something cancerous, something hurtful, something harmful, that is your full moon work. So your tinctures and your medicines that you create under the full moon need to be centered in the intention of releasing illness, sickness, bacteria from the body. Okay, so this is a good time to do that under the full moon. So, all the healers, I want y'all to remember that any healing working that you're doing, whether if it's a tincture, it's a herb blend, no matter what, right? It could be a oil blend, no matter what, right? Whatever you are gathering for healing, ask yourself, am I manifesting or am I dispelling? Am I bringing healing to them by adding something to the body? I want to elevate something within the body, or am I bringing healing to them by trying to dispel something out of the body? The full moon is also a good time to detox and remove negative energy, negative bacteria out of the body. Okay, so if you are on your cycle, that may be something you want to do. And usually, getting your cycle around the full moon time is a sign that that's something that you need to do. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, European culture, they call this the red moon cycle. Okay, so I wanted to share that again. If that's something that you like to identify as a red witch or your red moon cycle, you can take that label if you desire. Okay, but remember, over the full moon is Yemoja energy. So that elevated divine nurturing energy, that deep connection with the water during the full moon, having a lot of this is y'all know full moon, that's when you get your powerful new moon. You get new moon water too, but your full moon is your powerful moon water. That's one of the times where you get war water, right? You get water used for transformation and change and things like that. That's a time where you get dispelling water, releasing water, right, for your full moon. So, and you can add a drop of your Menses into that. Okay, and be able to use it and store it for later use. All right, and like I said, keep in mind that this is not something that you want to do for other people. You're not giving that water for other people, okay? You're not even when I'm talking about creating the tinctures and stuff, you're not adding your menses to the tinctures that you're going to give to other people. Okay, I'm not saying that at all. You don't want to do that. But I'm saying that you want to manifest and you want to create these tinctures and create these medicines while you are on your menses, because your power and your ashe to do the releasing and the dispelling is elevated. Okay, so that's what I'm saying here. Okay, now The waning moon, the waning moon. This is often by the Europeans referred to as the purple moon, the purple moon. This is a good time to also do your, let's be clear. When we're speaking about the waning moon, okay, this is a continued time of release. This is a continued time of stepping back. During this time, you may have the desire to kind of be more in solitude, to be more to yourself. Same thing, something similar with the full moon, where you have the desire to kind of, yes, be introspective. Thank you, Sydney. Be introspective, be more to yourself, right? So keep in mind with the waning moon, this is the time where, yes, you can do workings for other people, right? But you want to continue to be a bit selfish. When you start your cycle during the waning moon, you want to really go within and ask yourself, what am I still holding on to that I need to release? That the waning moon is a good time to do your cord cutting ceremonies, releasing soul ties. Okay. Now, you can do your burning ceremonies as well during the full moon, but when you start your cycle during the waning moon, you can also do a burning ceremony. So, your cord cuttings and your burnings is good for the waning moon cycle. Okay. Starting your cycle during the waning, that is a good time to do your cord cutting, to cut and release any soul ties. That is that I like to call the waning moon your step away energy. That is your step away energy. That is your fade to black energy. Okay. Think about that. Your waning moon is your fade to black energy, your step away energy. So do your cord cutting, release any soul ties you may have, release any bonds to other people that you may have that's not for your wellness. That is your fade to black energy. Okay. So that's what you want to do during the waning moon. You said, hey, Variety with the Virgo. Hey, Grow. You said, Queen Pose, there's a certain time of your cycle where the blood is more powerful, day 1, 3, or 5. Let me tell you, there's not necessarily a set time. It would depend on you. What I would heavily advise is when your cycle is the heaviest, that's when you want to do most of your working. By the time your cycle starts to relax, your working should already be set. So whatever day your cycle, I know some people are heavier on day 1, some people are heavier day 2, day 3, depending on how long your cycle lasts, right? So every sister is different. Some sisters go for 7 days, some sisters go for 4 or 5 days, some sisters go for 3 days. Whichever day is your heaviest, that is your most powerful energetic time. Okay, so that's what you want to do. Okay, so go when it's the heaviest, and then when it starts dissipating, your working should already be well set and done. All right. Now we've gone through the moon phases. We've gone through how to use your menses, how to use your periods for spiritual purpose to elevate the power. This is the last thing, and then I'm gonna close on out. Let me say this. I talked about in the very beginning how your womb is a sacred space and it holds a lot of ashe, it holds a lot of power. Let me tell you something. You don't tell your womb business to nobody. Okay? You don't tell your womb business to nobody. Everybody don't need to know when you on your cycle. Everybody don't need to know what phase of your cycle you on. That's something between yourself, your spirit guides, your ancestors, and if you feel led, your sister circle. But you don't go out here showing your workings you're doing with your cycle, because see, some people learn this information and they get a little overzealous and they get excited and they want to show the world. I understand. But no, no, no. Always remember what I said about your womb space and what I said about the ashe that your blood carries. Always remember that, right? There are 3 Orishas connected, 3 powerful Orishas connected to this process. Your blood alone is Ogun energy, okay? A true warrior never tells their next steps. A true warrior never tells where they rest, okay? You do not need to share information about your cycle. You do not need to share when you are using your cycle for what workings and how you're using it. Your cycle business is your business. Your womb business is your business. Okay. Now you can share information with other sisters about how to care for their womb. right? Give them, share some tips, share some information, teach them about the power of the womb. But you don't be sitting around talking about, ooh, it's a full moon. I just started my cycle. Ooh, I'm about to do this work and using my cycle. No, no, no. It's a very private, it's very sacred, right? It's very sacred space. Okay. So your womb business is your business. Okay. It's your business, and not because it's gross. Like I said, you're sharing too much about your ashe. Protect your ashe. Protect your power. Okay, and I can't say this enough. Teach the young girls. Teach the young girls. Teach the babies. Teach the babies. Teach the babies. We have to shift this energy around the cycle. We have to shift this energy around the womb. If we want to elevate the divine feminine and we want to restore physical balance, we have to shift how we think about the womb. We have to start to honor it. We have to start to show respect and reverence for it. Okay, so let's shift this energy. And the best way to shift this energy is teaching this information for the young sisters and celebrating it. Okay, can birth control stunt your spiritual practice? This is the thing. I have nothing against birth control. I was on birth control from the time I was a teenager until after college, right? Because I knew that I did not want to risk having children while I was young, right? So I had the implant on, right? And I can only speak for myself and say that I did not feel a difference in my spiritual abilities and my spiritual gift from being on birth control to the time I got my birth control taken out when I was 25, right? I didn't feel a spiritual difference, right? But you have to study yourself, right? You have to study yourself and see if you notice a difference. I do not believe that birth control can stunt your spiritual power, but I do, hear me closely when I say this, I do believe that it, and no, not just believe, we all know for sure that it can shift your physical ability, right? Your physical body, right? And if your physical body shifts, then that can impact how your spiritual expresses, because the spirit leads the mind leads the body. But if the body is broken, if the body has an issue, if the body has a wound, right, the womb may respond or may relax it to give time for the physical body to heal the wound. So if your birth control is causing you to be wounded, your spiritual energy may slow down because it knows that your physical body cannot handle the power that it has to express and give. So if your birth control is causing physical issues for you, you may want to find an alternative. Okay, shout out to 1111. Come on now, but you may want to find an alternative. Okay, so just something to consider. Something to consider. Okay, so study thyself. All right, I love y'all dearly, family. You said, does the moon cycle have an effect for those of us who have entered menopause? The moon cycle has effects on everybody, right? So that's why I made sure to talk about the phases of the moon, but then I talked about how it plays a role in the womb, right? So the moon cycles, when I'm talking about the new moon being all about setting intentions and manifesting, when I'm talking about the full moon being a good time to release, when I'm talking about the new moon being connected to Oya energy and the full moon being connected to Yemoja, that is for everybody. Ogun is over the blood for everybody. It's just that the womb and the menstrual cycle elevates the energy, elevates the connection. So it has an effect on everybody, but the womb and the cycle elevates that energy and that connection. Do the phases of the moon still apply for the? Oh, I just answered that question. Okay, family. All right, and then for everybody who's in menopause or perimenopausal, go watch 19 Keys and Tabitha Brown. 19 Keys and Tabitha Brown did an excellent conversation. I want y'all to type in. After y'all get off here, type 19 Keys and Tabitha Brown. The wellness community and I watched it as a collective, and we had an amazing thoughts and feels after it. It's a powerful conversation about many things, but something that they talk about is being perimenopausal and menopausal. And what I love, and it shifted my perspective, they said it's another rites of passage. It's another level of womanhood. So it shifts the mindset about how you look at being perimenopausal or menopausal. It's another rites of passage. Okay. Another rites of passage. So we're talking about the rites of passage for young sisters, getting their cycle, but phasing out of that takes you to another rites of passage. So go watch that conversation to understand that rites of passage, because that was powerful. And like I said, they talk about a variety of different things. Okay. Shout out to 19 Keys and Tab. That was great information there. All right, family. I love y'all dearly, wellness community. Tomorrow is Cowboy Carter Day. So I'll be going live and with y'all, Patreon exclusive. I'll be going live at Cowboy Carter so we can be there and vibe as a collective. Ah, ah, Okay, this that thing, this that na na, that Uchi Gucci, yeah, yeah. Okay, we're gonna have a time. All right, YouTube family, I love y'all dearly. And to everybody, happy full moon. Remember that this full moon in Capricorn energy will last until July 13th. So utilize this energy for your wellness, and everybody should be experiencing an elevation in their spiritual gifts right now. Okay, family. So y'all enjoy that. Y'all tap in and y'all tune in and enjoy this elevated spiritual energy that comes with this full moon in Capricorn, family. Okay, I love y'all dearly, and I will see y'all soon. Much peace. Y'all see Salam over here. He like, girl, get off. It's time to get into bed. I love y'all dearly, family. Good night, y'all.